Hello everybody. As promised, today's video is on the types of players you're going to encounter. Now, I'm going to break this out into two types, the ones that are good and the ones that suck. The ones you do not want at the table and the ones you do, all right? There's a lot of different categories and they overlap there a little bit. One could bleed into another, good into bad if you're taking too far, so I'll get into all the nuances and differences. But first, do me a favor, click the like button, subscribe, share this thing out, throw a comment in there. It helps with the algorithm. Since I've been doing this thing, which I'm really kind of proud of and happy about, I've lost 2 subs, so I guess y'all hate it. And I don't do the clickbaity stuff that often, but I think I might have to get into a little bit more different kind of content in addition to this in order to grow the channel a little bit. You know what I mean? So we'll do a little bit more stuff in addition to this, I think, coming up. But please do like and subscribe, even though it's not hitting the massive algorithm. I think it's good stuff, and it actually helps me to do this because it inspires me to write and it gives me YouTube content. So it's 2 birds with one stone. But without any further ado, all right, what we're going to talk about now, the good players first. We're going to do the good players today. Tomorrow you're going to get the bad players. And there's more bad than good by almost twice as many. So that'll be a longer video than this one. So the types of players, there's a lot of different kinds you're going to deal with, right? The good ones, I think everybody could recognize them, pretty easily. We've all hopefully tried to be the good players. Hopefully. Maybe you've devolved into assholes or whatever, but we tried to be good at least. The first type of good player, I'm just going to call a role player, the most basic thing. They like to get into character. They have well thought out ideas about the characters, and they act accordingly in the game. They try to stay in character as much as possible. They try to avoid metagaming if they can. I say try because no one's perfect. They're usually kind of a joy to deal with, really, because one thing, they pay attention to the NPC names, and they often tell me, what the hell the name of the guy was at the bar, because I'm an idiot and sometimes forget. I pull it out of my butt at the time, thinking I'll write it down. I don't write it down, and then they do, and they tell me what the hell it was. So they also pay attention to all the other details, and that one person at the table, having that one guy, it helps everybody up their game. It helps everybody get immersed into the game. The only risk you have in dealing with these types of players is they might get into the whole mode of, it's what my character would do. Which I'll talk about later when, in the bad player section. But, I think you all know what I'm talking about there. They're the ones who think they're good role players but actually suck, really. So the next type of PC or player you have to deal with is the explorer type, right? They like to figure out everything, every nook and cranny of the dungeon or forest or area of the town or whatever it is that they're in. They want to know everything about it. They're going to look into everything. They think there's a secret door in every room, and damn it, they're going to find it, no matter how many random encounters you throw at them to try to dissuade them from keeping on searching. They're fun to play with because if you're a GM who puts a lot of thought and a lot of detail into adventures, they'll be sure to find everything you've thrown in there or die trying. Well, sometimes they do die trying, right? But the only drawback to these players is that sometimes they drag the game down because they want to search, they want to ask questions about everything they see, and then they try to mess with stuff. They push and prod, and they'll combine the candlestick from one room with the gem from the other, see if it fits in there and causes or whatever the hell, right? It's that kind of a guy, It's sometimes exhausting, right? Random encounters or timers, I've noticed, are kind of helpful. A timer is something where something is going to happen in X period of time, minutes, hours, whatever, if you don't get through the damn dungeon. So, get going there, buddy. And that helps them keep them in line and limits. It frustrates them, too. I'm not a fan of timers, honestly, because I want to have the characters, get into it, try things out. I think it's it takes away some of the fun, especially if you are an explorer. It takes away that level of fun. It takes away the role playing sometimes in a place. If you just, go through it quick because the bad thing is going to happen. But I'll talk more about that later on. But, it might be helpful here for explorer types who like to really dive into shit like this. So another issue you might have is if you try to throw puzzles or riddles at them, they're going to try to solve the damn thing no matter how bad the player himself sucks at solving puzzles and riddles. Like me, I truly do suck balls at this. I'm terrible at puzzles. I'm terrible at riddles. If there's one in the game, I just generally just tune out until some other player solves it. And When that's solved, I get back, or they give up, and then I get back into the game. I don't pay attention. Start looking at my phone or some shit. I never put them in games. Honestly, the intersection of players who are both into solving puzzles and who are also good at them, it's so few and far between that it's not even worth having them. But keep in mind that my dislike of puzzles as a player probably clouds my view of them as a GM. They might be fun for you to have, and I'll get into more about puzzles and riddles later in the book and in the videos. But just wanted to put that out there because explorers tend to jump into that stuff, So keep that in mind. If you throw it at them, they're going to be obsessive about this thing. So anyway, third type, ass kickers. Easily described. They like to fight. Period. End of story. That's what the game is all about, which is kind of fine because fighting is a major element of any real RPG game. Any game that I would call an RPG, you have fighting involved. In my games, you will never ever get a medieval yet oddly modern style Seattle-like coffee shop based game. If I'm the GM, blood will be spilled, not lattes. Every group of players needs their share of ass kickers in the group. It's best if you have like a subcategory though called tactician type of ass kicker because there's always the guy who likes to play that raging barbarian type. Tacticians, they want to assess the situation as much as they possibly can. They want to recon it, before they engage. After they do all this recon, what they then want to do is figure out what is the best, most tactical, optimized way to go forth into combat. They want the greatest tactical advantage they could find. It's like they've read Sun Tzu and Clausewitz 100 times and their gameplay shows it. The only drawback to ass kickers is if the whole party is a bunch of ass kickers, then it turns into like a hack and slash game. But if you want to run that, that's fine. If you want to run another type of game, it's going to be hard to do it with a group of all ass kickers. Balance within the group of player types is kind of a good thing, as long as it's a good group of player types that are of the good type rather than the bad type. Another type is min-maxers. Now, they often go along with the ass kicker type. It's sort of like they run the same in a way. Min-maxers, they try to min-max for skills and abilities really. But in this game, my game, it's not as effective as in other RPGs. And in my experience, most min-maxers maximize for combat. They sort their ability scores, they choose their weapons and gear, they search for magic items to give them every possible advantage in combat. Most min-maxing is done at the time of character generation, and these players usually have a grand plan of how they want their PC to look at every single level. This RPG, that I'm writing by design, that makes this sort of a useless consideration because at first level, you're pretty much front-loaded. You're getting every ability you're ever going to receive, and for the rest of the levels, there's no choices involved. You just get it. You get a thing at a certain level. So, min-maxers are kind of harmless at the game table unless they become obsessed with getting a certain thing that they might have heard exists somewhere that gives them one more point in something. Then they drag the whole party out on some kind of quest to get it. It's a big pain in the ass. Another type is called a thinker. They're fun to deal with if you're a GM who likes to run detailed campaigns and adventures. They're the ones who take lots of notes and ponder stuff between games. They like to figure out what's going on so they can use it to their advantage. You need to be prepared to give them all the info they might ever ask for, and if you don't, you have to make something up on the spot. Then make sure you write down all that bullshit so you don't forget it. Between games, you got to figure out how to include that crap you just pulled out of your butt into the campaign in some kind of a logical, meaningful way. The thinker is all about logic. It must make sense to them, every single detail. They're the ones who wonder where the orcs take a shit in the dungeon so they can plan an ambush while one's on the shitter to question the orc about every single little detail about everything he knows. And also, by the way, when you're done taking a shit, draw me a map of every level of the dungeon and every room you've ever been in. It seems like I know a lot about this type of player because that's me. That's why I like immersive campaigns. It's why... it's why I like to do these things, because I figure, shit, I like this as a player, so therefore every other player out there would love this kind of a game, right? No, but I try anyway. But if you're a GM who doesn't like to run detailed adventures where every single detail makes sense and fits neatly with every other detail, these players are going to drive you batshit crazy. You're going to be doing tons of work between games just to appease their insatiable desire for detail. And you might get burnt out or lash out at them or punish them in some unconscious, passive-aggressive way for making you feel unworthy as a DM. Another type is called gonzo. They like gonzo games. They do crazy shit just because. They're the ones who jump over the lava pit while wearing plate mail. They're the ones who break the... They go, every statue they see may have a penis on it, and they'll break off every penis, throw them all in a sack, and then start swinging the sack around in combat because they want to be the one that says they killed an orc with a bag of dicks. So, Shane, there you are, buddy. I told you I'd find a way to put that story into my game somehow. So, there it is. They usually don't give a shit if their PC dies. They're going to gleefully roll up another one to sacrifice to the gods of Gonzo. The problem with these players is the dumbass shit they do really often gets in the way of the rest. That gets the rest of the group into unnecessary fights. You want to see some player tension, have a Gonzo player and a tactician in the same game. Now, Gonzo playstyle, as a player, it's good for one-shots. I've kind of gone the Gonzo route in one-shots or convention games because it gives a shit, right? Take a risk. It's only there for 3-4 hours. Who cares? But if you're in a campaign with a mix of players, they often just cause more trouble than they're worth, usually. If they can limit the Gonzo-ness to situations that won't mess up the game for the other players, then they're kind of okay to have and fun. Especially, Gonzo is fun during downtime, like in cities and towns. You're at the bar, and you just do crazy, stupid shit or whatever. Or, that's the fun time. It's like going out on a drunken, bar hop with them or something with a wild man, right? It's like Belushi, So imagine going on a bar hop with Belushi, something like that, right? That's Gonzo, okay. Now the last type is the casual player. It's easy to know what I'm talking about just by the name there. I divide, they play sometimes, right? I divide, or they're casual about their play, one or the other. Now, I divide the casual player between drop-ins and the beer and pretzel guys. They're in it for the fun, like the beer and pretzel game I described above as a type of game. The only difference between the two is that the beer and pretzels player shows up for most sessions, and the casual player, he comes when he can. You usually have to add some levels to his PC to get him up to par with the rest of the group, and just hand-wave the fact that his PC has not been there for the last 7 levels of the dungeon. It's usually, good if somebody in the group can get them up to speed on what's been going on the last 4 months in the game so they're not caught unawares. But also keep in mind, generally only going to pay attention to the details that matter most for that session they're in right now. Like, where'd you guys leave off? How bad of a shit show are you in? And then he shows up in the middle of the fight with a full spell list, max hit points, and the rest of the group are down to cantrips and a single digit XP. And the casual guy, the drop-in guy, he saves the day. Players often like these casual players just for that reason. I know that I've leaned on that as a DM to sort of alleviate my concerns of a TPK. Like, it actually happened in the last game. The guy was, a few games ago, the group was in a shit, world of trouble. But I knew that in the next game, Tim and Vance were going to be there, full hit points, and Tim's got Fireball, so it's like, all right, cool. It'll probably turn out okay. I don't have to worry about a TPK and all that. And that's how it worked out. Tim showed up, Vance showed up, the whole complexion of the battle changed. The ass kickery began, and that was good. So that's pretty much it for the good player types, guys. Next video, tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the lousy ones you don't want to play with and kick out of your group as soon as you possibly can. So again, click like and subscribe if you liked the video so far. Share it around. Every video I seem to do loses me a viewer or a subscriber in this series. I'm going to start doing other videos as well, like I said earlier, try to get some more subs up. It's funny how the things you really like and put the most time and thought and writing into, it's like turns out to be, I don't give a fuck about that. But such is the way of YouTube, I guess. So anyway, thanks for listening this long, guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.